All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Limitless Mind Body Podcast. Today, we're not doing guests.
No, not today.
We're having a little brief discussion. Me and Mocha here, we rarely ever fight. So when we find a topic that we differ on, I think we have to talk about it and see if our friendships last.
This is the true test here. So the topic we were discussing, I don't even know how we brought it up, but it's a discussion of pain. And not just anything about pain, but whether... Okay, so your belief is that pain just simply doesn't exist.
I think it doesn't. I think we allow it to exist. I'm not, and guys, there's a huge difference obviously between physical pain and mental pain. And my argument is we allow mental pain to exist and overwhelm our body, and I don't think there's such a thing for it. But obviously, if we're gonna get down to it about physical pain, because a lot of you are sitting there like, you ever stub your toe? Like, I sure as shit have. That's obviously just neurotransmitters and pain receptors flowing through to your brain and say there's pain. But we're going a little in deeper here, emotionally wise, I think.
Yeah, and well, like obviously there's no way to like. There's like the Lion King. I don't know if you've seen it where.
Love the Lion King.
Yeah, where like the monkey smacks the lion. He's like, hey, did you feel that? And he's like, obviously you got hit by a stick. You felt it. So like it's like obviously that pain exists, and like you said, from stubbing your toes. But even when it comes to, I guess you'd say like pain that is internal and not from like getting hit. What I believe is that we as humans are actually born into pain, and pain is a good thing. It's hard to explain. The best way I could put it is that, like as a baby, like right away we are born into crying. Like that's a good sign that you're alive and a normal baby. But as time goes on, you learn, like these bright lights and everything, that's okay, and then you discover more different types of pain throughout the time you grow, but you learn from it. I feel like, I don't know if you're saying that if you were to like experience a breakup or something, that you could just choose to ignore the pain of that event.
Like, yeah, so I mean, you guys might just think I'm a psychopath or something, but yeah, that's a really good example. So say a girl dumps you. I mean, I get thrown away like every week, so I'm used to this. But say a girl dumps you, you don't have to. Like, there's nothing. You might feel sad. Like, obviously, there's some emotions. Like, you might feel sad or angry. Like, oh, like she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But to say it hurts you on the inside, I don't understand that. And I think we just allow ourselves to believe that we're hurt.
Because like we choose to basically, like subconsciously or consciously, that we choose to allow that affect ourselves.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we allow us to like think we're actually hurt.
Okay. Well, I'd say there's a very strong degree of truth to that as well. Like, because there's only so many things out of the external world, like that we can't control, and then so I agree with the fact that you can react in a certain way, but regardless of it, we're all human, and we're gonna experience like something from that. But so for me, what I believe is that from your first breakup, I feel like that will hurt you inside, but as you continuously grow and change your mindset, that you just learn how to react better to that. And I believe that when it comes to like internal pain, I'd say that best way to, my brain is just so dead right now just because of the pain that I feel from last night. But it's I think it's just impossible to ignore the fact that that especially like throughout life that existence, just living is painful. Like as depressing, it might sound depressing, but I know that in Taoism, I guess, like the yin yang kind of belief that there is there's always darkness, there's always light. You can't really enjoy the light without first knowing what dark is, and that's the same thing when it comes to pain, that we live in existence of everything in this world. There's different things that, like, there's terrorists, there's racist people, there's just a lot of negative things, and just the world that we live in is a very painful place. But it's once you I guess transcend that, you have a purpose that transcends that pain. So you could take for example like Eminem. Like, he was born into a really fucked up like lifestyle when he was a kid, but then he used that as fuel and found that purpose of, I'm gonna get out of this situation by using this pain to motivate me to become the best rapper there is, or whatever. But
So are you on record saying right now that Eminem's the best rapper?
I did. He's one of the best rappers for sure.
No, I heard best guys. You heard here first.
Yeah, that's another debate for another day. But I would say that, like, we all have our own, like, no matter what it is. So there's the kids that are born into royalty, or kids that are born into like dust. We all have our different pains that we go through, but it's and like we could look at any situation as depressing. So it's like, if a person's super spoiled, like they could get really sad about like.
Okay, but is sad pain like what I'm I don't comprehend here is, like, does it hurt? Does it hurt?
Yeah, so because like there's you could look at like certain instances.
It doesn't hurt me that there's like Harvey Weinstein out there, like making millions of dollars, or Mark Zuckerberg pretty much controlling the world with all of his money. Like, that doesn't bring me pain.
Well, what I'm not talking about
damn,
like comparing yourself to someone else. What I'm talking about is just in your own situation. We all feel like we always feel the grass is always greener, or that there's just something better for us, better out there. That's just like where our curiosity comes from. It's just, hey, let's see what this goes, how this happens. But like, even for me, like growing up, I had a house, I had my family, my parents are still married. But when I was in junior high, I was a very depressed kid. But like, there was, like, logically, there shouldn't be any reason for me to be sad about that, like, the way that I was living. But just because of the nature of, like, as humans, we just live in like, we start off in life as in the negative, I guess. But it wasn't until I was like, you know what, I want to focus on killing it in school. I want to focus on and do like participating in sports. It's once you have some reason to overcome those pains. So like, for example, like when you say, oh, this girl turned me down, but you have
another one.
you have the backing behind your thinking behind it is, hey, you know, this is just one step in me finding, like, just learning from this experience, and you have like a reason to keep going on, right? But and I agree with the fact that some people take that same experience and then just be really, really sad about it. And
well, like, I understand being sad and all those funny emotions, but I don't clearly understand, like, when we're talking, like, even psychologists will say, oh, like, pain, like the pain, like, oh, you feel the pain in your heart. I don't really understand that. Like, I wouldn't, like, I feel like that's just a thought, like, oh, this is hurting me.
Okay. Like, there's like an actual thing that is causing pain.
Yeah, like they're saying, like, oh, you're physically in pain. Like you said, oh, I was sad and I had to start killing the books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I get being sad and not knowing, like, going through your times, or like maybe being a little lost, but like I don't understand, like, how that's painful, because
Okay.
you want to, like, bring it to, like, poverty and stuff. I was just in Bali, and
So we need a.
oh,
It's just.
all right.
Here, I'm gonna get up and move.
Uh,
That's weird.
I guess we have to. I guess we'll edit this part.
Supposed to get up and I think it's motion censored.
That's funny. So, so I was just in Bali, right? And there's a bunch of people who like, are obviously in poverty or don't have as much, but they don't seem in pain. Like, they started from nothing, and they just, like, simple joys. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and
They're just playing volleyball, walking on the beach.
and I think that comes with, like, what I was saying is, well, I guess for us we live in obviously we live in a completely different set of standards, just living in the Western world, but for them, what I believe is that they found that, hey, let me enjoy this sun, let me be able to enjoy these little simple things. That is the thing that they focus on to overcome just a boring, painful experience.
But I wouldn't necessarily say they're focusing on it. You know, like, people say they're shooting hoops.
Mhm.
They're not really focusing that hard on, like, shooting hoops and what they can do with that. They're just kind of, like, shooting hoops to kill the time. Like, you'll talk to a lot of them down there, and they're just like, oh, just waiting for raining season, just
Yeah.
hanging out, shooting for hoops. So compared to, say, some kid in the ghetto in North America who's like, yo, I'm gonna shoot these hoops, NBA, millions,
Yeah.
get a house for my mama, sort of deal.
Yeah. Well, I feel like
LeBron James this shit.
I feel like just that's all life really is. Is just we're here for a certain amount of time. What the fuck are we gonna do during that time? And it's just some people find purpose in, let's enjoy these little things, or you want to have that full drive.
Like, I mean, I was bored earlier today, but, like, I wasn't in pain. I was just, like, just chilling. It was like, whatever.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just because you know that in the overall scheme of things that you weren't, like, wasting your time, whereas, like, I guess you could. Well, there's people that just on the phone, on your phones, or like on your watching TV all day, and living continuous boredom, like 24/7 kind of boredom. What's up? But I believe that, like, if you have no sense of direction or anything to transcend that kind of pain or boredom that we have, without that, like, purpose, or I guess like a sense of direction, you're living that. What I'm just trying to say is that you're living that painful, like, experience. But when it comes to pain being an actual, like now I understand a bit more that you're saying, oh my fucking god. That's really annoying.
Yeah. Should we just shoot in the dark?
I guess.
Like, fuck it.
Some good mood lighting.
Yeah, all right, honey. I mean, I can turn on my cell phone light for you if you want.
Yeah.
Get a little torch back.
That's so weird that happens. But if we wanted to just chill and sit, this would happen every time. Yeah, I guess we could continue.
I think this makes it more of an intimate conversation, so I'm down.
Yeah.
Ooh, sweating. Ooh.
Yeah.
You feel the pressure
My body is just dying.
coming for you.
Where are we here? Yeah, so, like, if you're bored for like an hour or so, but if you're to continuously have that all day, every day, you're just sitting there waiting for time to go away. That's, like, in my definition, I'd say you're living just a painful life because you're only just going through time.
Okay, so what about all these, like, Buddhist monks and all these spiritual people who literally just sit for hours a day?
Yeah,
and
it's because
seems
they
like
still
they're
have that
wasting
purpose behind what they're doing. So, like,
But,
like, even in Buddhism, they believe they believe like you can't just they believe that you can't just sit all day. They understand that like, hey, we could do periods, long periods of sitting, but they believe in, hey, like too much of one thing is not a good thing. So even if you have like, oh, I'm gonna rest, and we all know that, yeah, we could sit, but then after long periods of times of sitting, your body even wants to stand up. But if we stand up for a long time, we want to sit down because our body's aching. But then with they come into the purpose with sitting down and meditating, that they have that reason as to why they're sitting down doing nothing. they're that's what their transcendence over that pain is. It's hard to. I don't know if you understood what I'm trying to say there.
I'm like kind of catching what you're throwing down on my plate. I'm just missing the gravy right now. You're trying to pour
like, because they're not literally just sitting there. They're actively sitting, right? There's a purpose to their sitting down.
Well, yeah, I understand that as far as like we meditate, right? Yeah. And we do that, but I don't understand how like killing that time would result in less pain. Like a lot of them focus on nothing. They're just trying to literally like the art to perfect meditation is clearing your mind of anything.
Well, like, okay, so if I sit here
mm-hmm.
and I'm just sitting here, no reason, no nothing.
Kind of like you are now.
Well, we're talking, so we're doing something. We're actively doing something, right? We're having a conversation. We're putting out content. There's a purpose between all the things we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't here, no one was in this room. I was just sitting.
And you were just chatting on this mic.
And if there was none of the technology, I was just sitting in this empty room by myself, doing nothing,
mm-hmm.
And just with just me and just doing nothing, for 2 hours. I would go, like, that's like where people like are in isolation or like in prisons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They go mad. That's like just a result because they're experiencing deep pain. Whereas if I was same thing, I was sitting.
Do you think it's pain or drive at that point? Because say I just trapped you in this room and you're like, man, I got a photo shoot to do, and you're just fucking going crazy now because you can't get out to that photo shoot. Would you say that's pain or that hurts, or you're just like, this is stupid?
Well, that would just be frustrating. But I mean, like if I had no plans or anything, and you trap me in this room, then I feel like that would. At that point, after like hours and hours of just doing nothing, I would be like, I'm experiencing deep pain right now because I have nothing I can do in my life right now. And that's what I feel like people that are like put in isolation, I feel like that too. But the same thing, there's nothing here, everything's out of this room, I'm by myself, and I'm actively trying to meditate and focus on something, or even trying to like work out some sort of problem that I've had going on in my life, or say I'm a scientist and I'm thinking through a thought, because you've changed the circumstance of now I'm not just sitting here, I'm working on something that has meaning for me and maybe other people, but like it's as long as it's something that's meaningful to you, you overcome that stasis of pain basically. Mm-hmm. Like that's the basis of pain, like where we sit at pain, but everything we do with purpose brings us above pain. But as soon as we lose our purpose, or say like when people get like fired from their job, and they're sitting at home and they just lose all sense of hope for their lives, or when they do get like broken up with from a girl and they're sitting at home and all they can dwell on is something that happened in the past, mm-hmm. and they're not actively doing something to like move forward. That's when I feel real pain comes into your life, because you step back down to that stasis of pain. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so I feel like that's choosing to be sad. I say you lose your job. A lot of people let's refer this to chaos, right? There's chaos in everyone's life, and so you lose your job and now you're faced in a chaotic situation. I wouldn't necessarily say that's a painful situation. You like, depending on how you look at it, I think we force ourselves to look at it as sad or depressing.
Yeah, well,
and hurt yourself.
it's sad once you, yeah, like you said, like once you let it overcome you. But that's what I feel like it sort of works with what I'm saying, because if you were to lose your job, and like I said, do nothing about it, that's when it becomes sad, because you're choosing not your choice, your reaction to it is to dwell on it or like just keep looking at this like bad problem that happened. And yeah, you can make that decision to shift your focus to, hey, let me work up my resumes, let me go do some networking or start something of my own. But it's from you not reacting basically, but just sitting and dwelling on it, that's when you start slowly becoming trapped into pain. But I can see where you're saying is, it's just how you choose to think about it. But even the act of you thinking of that as like, hey, maybe this could be a learning experience, that is you moving forward and doing something that is
Okay, but I'm saying like, say we're like Neanderthals and we have no idea about pain or any like that term doesn't exist, and we just lost our job, but we don't know the word pain yet.
Yeah.
And some guy's just like, oh man, that's painful, that must hurt you. And now you're sitting there, you're like, do I hurt? Like, does this hurt me? Like, this is hurting me. Like, this is now painful. I think this is pain. Like, this has to be pain. But you're not actually hurting. You're just telling yourself
so you're hurting. Saying that, like, it's the term and the expression of feeling pain is a learned thing, basically.
Yeah, like I think it's learned from, oh, I stubbed my goddamn toe again.
Yeah.
And that hurts. This is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And now we're using it to compare it to like losing our job.
Yeah.
Like a physical pain.
Well, I feel like the most purest form of like how a person experiences things is I'd say like a baby. When they're born, they don't know how to communicate. They don't understand what we're saying. Like, oh yeah, it's painful to be hungry or something like that. But then when babies are hungry, that's when they're crying. That's when they start crying and making noises, and like they're like, oh my god, like they start panicking. And I feel like it's just innately, it's just built into our DNA to be able to experience that pain. But I'd also say like there's obviously different planes of experiencing something. There's the physical way and the emotional way, the mental way.
But like I'm not gonna take a Tylenol because like this girl dumped me, I should take an Advil.
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean? Compared to like, oh, I have a headache. Some people do that?
Some people, yeah.
Well, I'm sure they're taking a lot more than Tylenol.
Yeah, so they're probably a little stronger. Like, yeah, so like you're saying, there's, yeah, okay. I think it's hard to ignore the fact that, because the way that I'm thinking is that, especially when we're young, like we experience things that are new to us and then react in the most raw way. But it's from learning from those experiences that we learn how to react to them as well. And so, yeah. So like for me, as like a 12-year-old, if a girl was to like turn me down, yeah, I would lose my shit. But then, like now, all you say.
You were talking to girls at 12?
No, that's why I lose my shit. She'd be the biggest thing to me, right? Like I think I see it as a real thing, but we just like anything else, we just build a muscle to it and react better. But then the problem is also some people don't learn how to react better to it, and so that's why they still experience pain, is because they haven't learned how to to react in a way that they try like change the direction of how they think or how they go about proactively getting rid of that pain or overcoming that pain. Basically.
Yeah, so you're saying there's methods to overcoming pain.
Yeah, well, just like I said, we get reset. Like when we're born, we're living in pain. We don't know what the fuck's going on.
Are you sure though? Because we don't know what the fuck's going on, right? Like I can't tell you what my feeling was coming out of the womb.
Well,
I'm sure I was a stone-faced killer.
Because when you're inside the womb, you're being fed. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about anything, right? Like you just sit there. You don't even have to worry about breathing. Like there's no problems at all. And it's as soon as you come into the world, you immediately are something snipped out of your stomach. The lights flashing everywhere. There's random shit. You've never seen people. You never opened your eyes before, and you're like, oh shit! Like what is this breathing thing? You have to get that going too. And then now there's just all of a sudden you're placed with like 10 different responsibilities, even though babies aren't really responsible much things. But like previously before that, now it's as you gain more of these like responsibilities, even just breathing and eating, that existence is just pain. If we were like say like we were all like robots, and that's why I believe like the AIs or something like that, right? They don't experience emotions or anything like that, and obviously don't experience pain. They don't have to eat. They don't have to go to the washroom. They don't have to do anything. Mm-hmm. And that's just something for us. Like we're sort of cursed as humans that we have to try to make things better for ourselves. But it's also a good thing, obviously, that we figure out better ways to reduce that pain or make things easier for ourselves. Right?
Okay, so in India, are you familiar with the caste system?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for you guys who don't know what the caste system is, basically you're born into like 1 or 5 levels. Like 1, you're gonna be like a pro athlete, and that's the only thing you're gonna be. 2, you might be like a maid, but that's just part of your caste system. You can only be a maid. So referring to the AI system and stuff, this is pretty much like making a society of robots almost, which makes like hell of good workers, but you don't see any of them like saying they're in pain because like, oh, I have to be an engineer, or like this is how it is.
Well, I don't mean like it doesn't matter what role you're doing. They still have like they're like I don't mean by like what role you're like committing to society, but
you're saying we have to find purpose.
Well, like the thing is, some people are meant to be the greatest janitors in the world.
Name 5. name your top 5 janitors.
Well, they're obviously not going to be famous people, but purpose is. We
used to have a janitor in our elementary school whose nickname was Snake. Snake is pretty badass. When I look back on it, he was a scary dude. But like,
yeah.
Now when I think about it as an adult, I'm like,
so weird.
I think he just had like a dad bod and a tattoo of a snake, and I think he just like claimed his own nickname. But anyways, I'm throwing him in the top 5 janitors of the ever.
There you go. I don't know if you've read this. It's not leadership from Robin Sharma. He talks about like we all have our own roles to play in the world, and like when it comes to success, people confuse that by, oh, you've made it, like you're making really good money, you're famous, you're loved by everyone. That's not what success is. I feel like success is, like I said, overcoming that pain that we're naturally born into, but having a sense of purpose. That could be, you could be someone famous for being a person that is really poor but is really famous, like Mother Teresa or something, because she had that purpose of, hey, let me help those that are in need. Or you could be,
hot hands, relax.
There you go. Or you could simply, be a janitor that kids are like, oh, this dude's really cool, and just brought joy to someone.
Okay, but what about like like if you want to talk about celebrities, like Miley Cyrus or any of those people who you see, they're like, oh, my life sucks, this is hard, you guys don't know what I'm going through, etc. But I'm sure their bank accounts look a lot better than ours.
Yeah, and so when it comes to that overcoming pain, it has nothing to do with financial success or anything. It's because I'm sure at certain times, like she's bounced back now, but there's times in her career before she was going through that like crazy phase that she's like, oh, I enjoy this, I want to push myself in this singing career, my acting career, whatever she was doing. But it's once celebrities like feel stuck in that, they just start lashing out or doing crazy things. I mean, I do it all the time too. Like
You lash out?
I'll have times where I just feel like nothing's going on, and that sort of pisses me off. I'm like, okay, well, fuck, I'm really fucking pissed right now. And like, you just.
I got tons of work for you to do.
Well, I mean, this is like junior high kind of stuff.
Oh, okay,
like,
yeah.
Even like just right out of high school, right when I dropped out of school, I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? So, things like that, right? Yeah, it's like it's once you slow down and stop moving forward, that I feel like you get set back into that existence of pain. It's just simple. It just goes right back.
Okay, so let's talk about you dropping out of school. Hopefully your mom doesn't hear this podcast.
Well, she knows.
She found out, but hopefully she doesn't have to hear you explain it.
I feel like she felt a lot of pain from that. So,
Pain,
as well.
disappointment though. Like I feel like we mix a bunch of emotions with pain.
Yeah, well, I mean, my mom takes everything very personal, like anything that happens in my life too. So it's like
It's her fault.
You're
You're gonna be like a 50-year-old man.
She
and it'll be
definitely
her
cried
fault.
way more than me than about that for sure. Like
Okay, so you decided to drop out. How did you feel after you dropped out?
right after I dropped off. Well,
Take me back through that day.
Obviously it wasn't like a random decision. It was a thought out thing. I was doing really well in school.
It wasn't spontaneous.
It wasn't spontaneous.
Yeah.
No. It was probably like a full school year of thinking about it. I was doing really well in school. I was in a suite. I was studying astrophysics, which is like a really cool out there kind of thing. And I was very interested in astronomy, but I felt like it wasn't something that was something that I wanted to do or bringing me forward, because I realized through going through that it took the fun out of it took the enjoyment out of astronomy, where the direction that I wanted to do. So I felt again I felt very stuck. I was like, I'm just doing all these formulas and things like that just for the sake of, I should be going to school. I got to a point where I'm like, I'm definitely 100% not going to be going into astronomy as a career choice or anything. I just wanted to be a hobby. So at that point, I thought through. I'm like, hey, I'm living in a very depressing, stuck kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would say like that was just painful because I'm doing the same thing every single day that didn't bring me what I wanted out of my life. And I'd say like that literally equates to like the same thing as a person just chilling at home on their phones, has nothing to do. That's how I felt. Even though I was doing work, I was doing really cool experiments and things like that, but I knew in the back of my head that this isn't going to take me to where I wanted to go. So when I first dropped out of school, I was basically, that was a really good time killer because I felt like I was doing something, but it wasn't really something I wanted to be doing. But then now that I had all this free time, that probably brought me more like, I guess, like internal stress, that painful stress, because I had all this time doing nothing, and it was basically every day it was what now, right? And I feel like that's really the only, once we answer that, that's the only way we can overcome like just a bored existence, right?
But what now is like a really really big question. Like I know we have plans and to go places and stuff.
Yeah.
And to maybe even move and all that stuff. But when I go to my phone and I go to Samsung calendar,
Yeah.
and I switch it from like weekly to yearly, and I see like all those dates and numbers. I don't really think of
Well, when
10 months down. I look at that as like, oh shit, I ain't looking at that.
Well, okay. When I say what now, it doesn't have to be a really big question. Basically,
So it sounds like a big question.
it can. I guess it can be like. Well, that's the thing. Like people are always stuck up on like what's the big picture for my life? What's my big purpose, right? When I say what now, I mean you could even take that and say, what can I do for the next hour, right? Or just what are the little you could reverse engineer things down to little tiny tasks, right? So if I say if I have a really big goal of like I want to be a big bodybuilder, you can look at that and like that could be really intimidating. It could also be very motivating as well, but like seeing yourself as a big bodybuilder. But the thing is, what at this moment can I do to get started on that? It's like, well, let's go to the gym. And then each day you just add a little bit more, or you say you do a little more research and whatnot, right?
Is it sort of like Rome's not built in a day? So
Yeah. So that's like that was the direction that I took. I was sitting at home and I was like, hey, what now? It wasn't like I was definitely overwhelmed. I was like, well, like yeah, like what is gonna be my big thing? And I decided, you know what? Let's not focus on that. I'm just gonna absorb things. I know I want to learn. I want to have something. I want to learn how the world operates, like what goes on. How can I make myself better? Things like that. So I started taking like going to the gym more seriously. I started reading, which I hated doing, but I was like, hey, like books has the world of information. It comes from books, and so I just started doing little things by little things, and honestly, if I didn't do those things, I wouldn't have created like the social circles that I did of people that want to make themselves better, or even be able to have a conversation like this, right? Or even meet you, or even want to do something like this with you, right?
Yeah.
And like once you break down what you be doing at every moment, it makes things so much easier and not as overwhelming, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that just keeps you busy and not being able to like. It sounds super bad when I say like, oh, just keep yourself busy, but
well,
it keeps you
true.
going. Really. Yeah, like, and I feel like that's just the best way to like when people feel depressed or something. It's mostly because they feel stagnant in their lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
But there's just so much like throughout this talk, I've heard of so much different emotions being mixed with pain.
yeah.
And I'm very confused. Like feeling overwhelmed, I wouldn't say is painful. It's like it's overwhelming.
Well, no,
it's
like,
shit.
yeah.
Like when I was in that river the other day, I wasn't like, oh, this is painful. I was like, ooh, this is a lot.
So yeah, well, the emotions, like, okay, regardless of any of the emotions, I'll try to say the exact same thing but without the emotions. So, in a logical sense, if I was to want to have the goal of becoming a big bodybuilder or picture myself in that situation, I could look at that endpoint, and logically I could say I could tell myself this isn't achievable, or you could break it down into small parts and say, actually, just by doing these things, that's how you reach that goal. And so the actual throughout the process, it doesn't matter what emotions you have to actually get really good at controlling emotions and sort of, no matter if you feel like it or not, to be able to start doing things. But I feel like the only time like pain actually comes, regardless of feeling sad or overwhelmed, pain just comes from not moving. That's
Okay, so let's refer this back to, I think you used the example of like, oh, I'm just sitting on the couch texting, doing like fuck all.
Yeah.
I can name like probably 50 girls right now off the top of my head
Pretty
that
much.
do that every day, and I don't think they're in pain. I think they're just like content. They're like,
Okay.
oh, whatever, like I don't mind sending these texts, sitting here being a quote Ronda Rousey, a do nothing bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say with something like with examples that's basically every girl.
Oops, we're gonna get in trouble after this
Yeah,
one.
for sure. Well,
Get to the edit.
well, I'd say that it's sort of like because it's like pain because like pain isn't. I wouldn't say because again with like there's no emotions in this because it's not like oh they're sitting every day texting like feel bad about it even if they don't it's the fact that they like people like that aren't moving and content about that. I'd say it's just like an overall existence of pain where maybe they don't like the thing is though is like I don't know, I guess it's just hard to relate with that, especially as a dude that wants to do shit with his life.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like they're content, which is completely different from pain, and you're this young, good-looking, ambitious lion who has been chilling a bit, and wants to break out of that den.
Yeah.
Like you're done hibernating. You're here to fuck shit up, right? So I would say that's like a very different feeling of being content is being ambitious, and I wouldn't really relate that to saying that hurts. That like obviously we have tons of goals, and wow, I wish there was 10 million fucking followers on this podcast right now, but it doesn't hurt me that there's not.
Yeah, and I'd say that like we just have that like understanding, like just removing ourselves from that situation. But for a person that isn't really doing anything with what they're going, with their lives or anything like that, I'd say it's hard to explain what I'm trying to like I have in my brain right now.
Word.
Yeah, like
words
it's
and
there,
things.
but like the thing is like with that there's just so much more things that like so much small things that would affect people like that so much more easier, I'd say, because they avoid things like sometimes like girls are like oh like I want to do this like because even girls that are like that they always talk about oh I want to start like a makeup channel they talk about it but they just don't do anything.
But like okay, I can name like tons of stoner dudes or just regular dudes who are like
same thing.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So that's what I mean. So like they talk about it and they ignore it and they don't realize that like just the fact that they're avoiding them picking up those more like those it might be tough to pick up those responsibilities and whatnot, but I'd say that because they're choosing to ignore that they sort of just accepted the feeling of where they're at but they are inside that pain, but they like it's not always going to be.
But a lot of it's not a serious thought, right? Like I could just be like, yo, I want to learn to be a professional surfer right now as just something I'm saying because I just saw the movie Chasing Mavericks and I was like, that's dope.
Yeah, and well, so like and like I know like yeah, obviously sometimes people will just talk about like crazy unrealistic goals, but
it's like think about when you're like sitting at it's 2-3 a.m. and there's like 8 of us around on a couch.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there like oh like someone's like busting out like oh that'd be dope, why don't we should do this, let's do that.
Yeah.
And stuff like are they really serious thoughts or is it just like it's cool we saw someone doing it and we're just like monkey see monkey do, it's not really like a pain thought.
Yeah, well yeah, and like I'd say that's why like it's sort of you're so attached to that like when you say shit like that, that's why it's like oh I'm not saying like they're having like real goals like oh I really want to do that, but I mean they just like they obviously understand that there's better stuff for them if they actually put the effort into it. I feel like that's just everyone knows that, even like people working at like at a Starbucks or something or just like that just doing nothing, like but it's just that they choose to accept that they are living in a painful, boring existence. I'm not saying that if you're doing nothing, you're gonna start freaking out and feel like it's gonna like hurt or anything. like you could choose to accept it. Like if you were to, like say example, go and learn how to be resistant to cold or something. Your body just eventually accepts it. You physically accept being in a colder environment. And I feel like it's just the same thing. We're creatures of adaptation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we just become used to sitting at home and sitting on our phones.
Okay, so then what about the people who don't require much? Like, I know this is like an ambitious thought because of Western society, and we're always told like, oh, we want more, we want this, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. What about those people who even live in a Western society? Like, I met someone the other day, came to one of my fitness classes. She doesn't want much. She's just chilling. She's like, yeah, like this is what I want to do. This is what I want to kind of teach, and I'm cool with that. I don't want a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't seem in pain. She just seems like happy with, minimal stuff and being happy.
Yeah, and like, well, that goes back to when I said, like, you could be the best janitor there is, or something like that. Like, as long as you have.
But I wouldn't say being a janitor is like a minimal role or anything. I was just saying like that's the career path you chose.
Yeah, and so like I'm saying, if you're living in the way that you don't want to be at all, but like it sounds like she wants to be doing not too much. Like some people just want to chill life.
But she's making like a big impact in her own way. You know what I mean? Like she wants to go teach English, and I forget what kind of meditation they do, but basically, it's a really hard word to pronounce, and they follow the same rotation of poses.
Okay.
So it's a structure. So it's a open meditation with movement, and they do the same movement patterns, but that's it. You can only get better at these same movement patterns. There's nothing else. It's just like it's like when she was talking to me, I referred to it as like a 4-punch combo in boxing. I'm like, you just practice the same 4 punches, and that's what you're throwing the whole fight. Is basically what she was saying.
And so like even just from you just saying that, she has impact, and she wants, like, even if it's the same things, but you're still trying to strive to get better. That's still.
But that's something very, very minimal,
Yeah,
I mean, there's so much more. There's so much more to do, and she's just like, no, this is.
But the things you don't have to, as long as like if you want to focus on just the same things, say like the same minimalistic things, but still excel better in that. That's still you moving forward and moving in direction. So I feel like that's like why a person like that is super happy, and like again, like. Just as long as you have some reason to move forward or grow.
But like, say you throw me in that situation, and for the record, there's no way on this God's green delicious earth that you tell me I could practice the same 4 moves to perfect it, and that's all I'm doing for like I would get good at those moves, and I'd be like, what's next? But it wouldn't be a painful what's next if I still had to practice.
Well, I'd say that it's. I think it's just because you two are different, that she doesn't get to that point of, oh, what's next, but then whereas you would, and that's when then you do need that next thing.
But I'm never hurt when I'm stuck. Like I come to what's next like every other day. But
then you decide what's next.
Yeah.
Right, and so I guess when you don't decide or just sit in that question of what's next continuously.
Well, I kind of do sit there a lot, to be honest with you, and what's next sort of just happens a lot of times. I don't make a lot of huge decisions. I make a lot of spontaneous, impulsive decisions. Yeah. And so the what's next, I was just talking with my boss earlier, and she was like, "Oh, what do you want for supper?" I was like, "I don't know."
Yeah.
What are you talking about? She's like, what do you mean you don't know? You don't have this like figured out? It's like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Like, I'll decide like whatever after this. I'll probably pass something and just be like, I won't be thinking that's what's next. It'll just be there. And I'm not in a painful decision of like, oh my God, what am I gonna have for dinner, etc. etc.
Well,
it's just gonna be
like,
there.
You know that you're gonna eventually figure it out and have it done. It's. I feel like it's just when like that example of just living in pure isolation or something like that, like it doesn't have to be painful, like if you want to be in that situation. some people prefer to go and live out in the mountains by themselves.
I mean, I don't mind it. I've done it.
Yeah, and like I'm saying, if it's something that you don't want to be doing, and you're stuck in that, and you're continuously just doing the same thing over and over again, unless you consciously say I want to be like, unless you consciously and subconsciously accept it or find a way to enjoy it, you're still getting out of that.
But wouldn't you think like being stuck in that like happiness trap, if you will, or feeling comfortable it's such a choice that like, a lot of people just like to feel safe?
Well, yeah, that's what I mean by accepting it. It's just sometimes it's just for people it's the easy way out.
Well, yeah, the easy way out is staying in sometimes, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't necessarily say that's painful. Like, okay, if you told me I was working this 9 to 5, teaching fitness for the rest of my life and whatnot,
Yeah.
and like, I might not see anything wrong with it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just be like,
yeah,
all right,
that's what I mean.
it's all right.
It's because
I mean, I could want more though, but I don't think it's gonna hurt me to have thoughts of wanting more, and then being like, oh yeah, well I'm doing this.
Well, I think it would. I don't know. That's just what I think. It's as soon as you start thinking about, oh, I want more, but then choose to do nothing about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I feel like it would hurt. Like if you say, I want more, and you do something about it, then you're doing really good. But then if you don't want more.
So can you describe this hurt feeling for me? Like when you're saying.
Well, that's the thing. Like I'm not saying it's a emotion, like you said. Like it's just you're stuck and just don't do anything. That is a painful thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I feel like we're just going back in circles here, but it's really, I think it's just for each person to decide, really.
If it's painful or not.
Yeah, or like if pain really is real, or if you.
Like obviously pain exists in forms of physical forms, and there's definitely things that might hurt us with different emotions, but I guess you probably described like a gut wrench feeling maybe or something.
It's just like your whole like way of thinking or physiology changes. Like you either become depressed or you just don't vary from like, you could even just become like super monotone in the way that you are. Mm-hmm. So you don't have super excitement about anything. You don't feel super sad about that. I'd say even that is just like living painfully because you're not experiencing anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what demographic would you say lives the most painfully then?
Say that again. So
like which area, like which people would you say after this conversation lives in the most pain? Like would you target us Western society or?
I'd say I feel like it's just become, I'd say like because of all the comforts and things that we have in the Western society that's even in, not even just in our society, especially technologically advanced places, we just become. But the thing is, it's not just about. It's just also about like the way that we are raised, and I feel like places like America, like it's encouraged to be able to like live creatively or things like that. So I'd say that like makes things a lot better for people. But it's places like Japan, especially where you basically you have to focus on school. You don't do anything else. You don't do anything crazy. Mm-hmm. Their culture is very be respectful and don't really like exude too much out there kind of personality or anything like that.
Yeah, have you seen some of their events down there? Like they'll have professional fights and like 20,000 people in an arena, and not a sound.
Yeah,
like,
and it's just like
if the fight's done, it's like.
Yeah, like it's just like,
that's it.
That's just the way that this society is. It's when I say like when you're repressed and slow down, like even the way you express yourself. That's when things just are just painful, and that's why the suicide rates in Japan are just like the largest amount.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh wow!
It's very common. Yeah, they just like people even like people just die on the street from overworking too. Like it's just a whole different kind of lifestyle because of that. It's just the way that the society is, and I feel like it's because there's not much drive behind, because everyone there is, again, they have that comfort of like, it's the same thing in this Western society where we have the phones and stuff like that, but then they don't have that added bonus of encouragement of being out there loud, who you are, right? It's just, they're told to be like repressed, respectful, and that's the double of those two things hand to hand, just create a really painful existence there.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. I never even knew that about Japan. I thought they were like all happy. Like you see things about Japan. You see like that animated cartoon smile, that yellow face,
and I think that's why that's
and
like
dancing and.
I think the reason those are really popular is why like weird crazy shit is popular for Japanese people is because they just don't get to be able to express themselves. Like they're like, oh my god, all this like craziness that's happening, this is amazing. Like it's like the best stimuli that they had all day after like a depressing work day, depressing lunch, and then now they can read anime or watch weird hentai porn or something like that. And like I think that's just
what kind of porn?
Weird hentai animated porn, like
Hentai.
tentacle stuff.
You sound like you're a little bit experienced in that.
No. I just you know.
I think we found Mocha's secret to happiness, guys.
All right.
All right. Well, sweet. I guess like, yeah, both valid points. Obviously, this is a very smart man in front of me. I think we gotta let you guys decide and comment and think of what pain in your life or what causes you guys pain. We're definitely gonna be throwing up a blog on our website about pain, 100%. You can check that out at www.limitlessmindbody.com.
Nice.
Is there anything you want to like send people off with your Mocha wisdom?
I'd say regardless if you feel that pain is real or not, whatever it is, obviously the best thing you can do for yourself is in any situation that might bring you down or any type of like existence that might be deemed as painful, no matter what it is, your thinking is do something to move yourself forward, or find joy in what you're doing, and that just eliminates the problem with either case being true.
Yeah, well, you've definitely opened my eyes to views. I think it's just really hard for me to like understand emotional pain. Is like, I think you know me, I'm always all the way up.
Yeah.
Like it could be the saddest day of my life. I'm like, fuck it, what are we doing? Like we're jamming out. Okay, we're jamming out. So yeah, you definitely brought up some valid points and have me looking into it. I just think there's probably more people like me out there too who have a hard time understanding.
I think it's good to hear both sides of the argument anyways. So it's out there now.
All right, yeah, it's out there. She's out there. All right, thanks guys for tuning in.
Awesome.